There's JK paper, which is in focus. The fact that pulp prices are in demand, expansion plans as well in the pipeline for JK paper. There's large FDI in the paper sector coming its way, and anti-dumping duty has been slapped on uncoated paper. So who better than Mr. Pati Singhania, Vice Chairman and MD at JK Paper, joining us himself. Mr. Singhania, great to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about, firstly, the proposed minimum import price in uncoated paper, and how would it impact players like you?
See, in the last year or two, we had seen that there had been a lot of imports that were happening into India on uncoated paper, which were coming at substantially lower prices. And they were at prices that were lower than what there was in other markets that these products were being sold. So I think the paper industry as a whole, the association raised this issue before the government to say that there should be a pricing mechanism by which goods come at the right price. And I think it was in that on that basis that the industry association moved a petition, and the government went into the investigation, and they went into the entire inquiry as to what are the facts and what facts were there for the domestic industry, and did it cause injury to the domestic industry. And then they concluded, after all this extensive inquiry, that indeed there was an injury caused to the domestic industry, and therefore they came out with a price of, I think, if I remember, $855 or something, to say that is the price at which we would adjudge materials to come in. If materials came in below that price, then the difference would be treated as an anti-dumping duty. So that's what this whole thing is about.
Okay, what are the base paper prices currently, and based on the current foreign exchange rate, where do you see them headed?
See, the paper prices have globally come down in the past few months, and they have come down by almost $100. But that is on the back of lower pulp prices. Pulp prices have also decreased by about $100, $120, I think. And roughly basis of that, the paper prices have come down. In India, we have a situation where under the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, there is a zero import duty on paper. Therefore, the prices that are in the Indian market essentially get benchmarked with the landed cost of imports. And so that is how it operates. So it's a dynamic market, and prices keep varying accordingly.
Mr. Singhania, hi there, good morning. I want to also understand, when will Sirpur paper mill start? What is the capacity there, and how is this going to aid your overall earnings? Yeah,
we from JK Paper bid through the IBC, the insolvency and bankruptcy process, for Sirpur paper. And now that we have been awarded that, or we were the successful resolution applicant, to put it more technically, we have started working. The mill had been closed for 4 years. So we have been working now on renovation of the mill, to restart the mill. And over the course of next few months, we should be in a position to start and restart production, and which will provide large number of jobs to people in that area of Telangana. The total capacity, as you were asking, is just about between 1.35 to 1.4 lakh tons. So gradually we will ramp up, and in the course of the next several months, in the course of the next year or so, we should be able to substantially achieve, we will not achieve 100% capacity in the coming financial year, but we will be able to ramp up production.
Now, the overall industry, the Indian paper industry profitability, that's highly correlated as well to the global pulp prices in the past. So give us a sense as to how the pulp prices are moving. Are we seeing some weakness in the last few weeks? Is that likely to continue, you reckon?
See, there has been a reduction in pulp prices in the last few months, and it's come down by almost $100 or $120 actually. The profitability of the industry is partly related to the pulp prices, yes, certainly, because when international pulp prices are high and people who have to import pulp, then their cost becomes high, and as you mentioned rightly, in terms of the foreign exchange, etc., that also comes in. If the rupee weakens a lot, then it has an issue. But we are, for example, JK Paper is an integrated pulp and paper mill. That means we produce our own pulp, and our dependence on imported pulp is very small compared to the total. Therefore, with the international pulp prices being high, we were not negatively impacted to that extent, except for the small amount that we import. And therefore, we were able to get the benefit of a market which after some time has shown better demand, and therefore there has been improved prices. The cheap imports that were being dumped into India had significantly reduced, and because prices were higher globally, producers internationally were also selling to other markets. So a combination of these factors, along with, more importantly, our own efficiencies. So we made an expansion at one of our facilities in Odisha about 4-5 years ago, which is completely modern technology. We put in a brand new pulp mill, a brand new paper machine, and invested in that technology, which is now giving us the benefits, because that has brought down our cost of production in energy, in usage of all other sources of material, in quality, in terms of the scale. So all costs have come down, and we are getting the benefit of that. A last point I want to make is that we have also been making very intensive, we have been doing intensive work on plantation with farm forestry. And therefore we have done a large amount of plantation with farmers in the vicinity of our mills, which has helped bring down the lead of raw material to our factories, which has also brought down costs. And we have been able to do clonal propagation, which has increased yields and productivity. So actually it's a combination of all these factors, and I would not just put it on pulp prices or paper prices which have been responsible for this.
Okay. Now, do you expect pulp prices to remain firm over the course of next 3, 4, 5 years?
See, this was a very major development in the sense that when China decided to stop imports of this mixed waste, they actually stopped imports of a whole lot of waste, and mixed waste was one of this. It suddenly created a situation where this mixed waste, which was used for making paper and boards, was not available to the Chinese producers, and they had to, therefore, to keep their mills running, they had to start buying more pulp. And that led to pulp prices shooting up very steeply. And with that, global paper prices shot up. On the other hand, mixed waste in the global markets became very cheap. And therefore, companies that were running mixed waste in other markets other than China were able to improve profitability. So that was one part of it. The impact as far as India is concerned, it has increased raw material prices for people who import pulp. But it has also benefited in some ways people who use mixed waste in terms of lower prices of mixed waste coming into India, because some part of that or a fair amount of that is imported. It has also led to a higher price table globally for end product prices in paper. And therefore, the imports that were coming in earlier, as I mentioned, at a lower rate, the prices went up. And therefore, the Indian industry was able to improve its realization. So that has been the sort of immediate impact of that.
AP Economic Development Board has suggested a MOU with Asian Pulp and Paper. How do you view this development for Indian paper industry?
See, it is a very major FDI intent that they have announced. They are a very large producer globally. They are perhaps the largest globally now. And so for them to find India to be a market where they want to, a country where they want to invest in is positive for the country, but it's also good to see that they believe that there is a future for this industry in India, where in some parts of the Western market there has been tapering down, but if they are going to put money here, it means they believe that there is a future, which is good for existing producers as well. The second aspect of this is, as I understand, we don't know the plans as yet. We still have to understand what the plans will be like, because there are only limited details. But our understanding is that they are relocating certain paper machines from China, which they will put here. And therefore, they may use this as a base to re-export a large quantity of this produce to their other markets, including China and other markets that they are serving. So it doesn't mean that all this capacity is necessarily going to come into the Indian market immediately. Also, it's a capital-intensive industry, and they will have to do this in phases. So very few details of this are available at this point in time, but we need to see how it pans out.
Okay, Mr. Singhania, pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time out. That's the word coming in from Pati Singhania on JK Paper.